Hi, this is Ray Michaelonis. I'm glad you were able to make it to this part of the presentation. We're going to summarize some of the things that Dr. Summersall did and the scientists that discovered the product and how the product works. So, stepping along here, this is a picture of an embryonic stem cell. This is how you and I were made. The first stem cell is the sperm and the egg. Everything comes from that. Your heart, your liver, your lungs, your eyes, your ears, your hair, everything comes from stem cells while you're growing as a baby inside your mom. When we're born, then the stem cells that are left over that do the same thing embryonic stem cells did are called adult stem cells, and they live in the bone marrow. So as far as stem cells, we look at what a stem cell is. It's a blank slate. It lives in the bone marrow. It's replicating itself. But when there's a injury or damage in the body, the bone marrow stem cells are the ones that are called in to replace and repair. They can become any tissue in the body. And what the doctor was saying too is that our cells have a limited lifespan, and based on the different areas they are in the body will determine how long they live. Now, he did mention that people will use nutrition, vitamins and minerals and things like that. Those are all good. But the way I look at that is it's all fertilizer. If you've got a lawn, you want to put fertilizer on it, it makes it look good. If you have a bare spot in the lawn, fertilizer won't do it. You've got to get some seed, and that's where stem cells come in. This is an example of how the stem cells do their repair. Let's say you smashed your thumb with a hammer or got it caught in the car door. The first thing that happens is that injury releases a chemical that goes through the bloodstream, goes to the bone marrow and says, hey, we got a problem here, shoot me some stem cells. The next thing that happens is the bone marrow then releases some stem cells. They go through the bloodstream, they circulate, and then they are attracted to the area where the injury was because there's another chemical that gets released that attracts them there. Once they get into the vicinity of the injury, they have to go through the capillaries, and then they go into the actual tissue. They pick up the signal of the DNA of the cells that they're surrounded by, and they convert directly into that tissue cell. This is a list of organs and how long the cells typically live in that organ. Our intestinal lining gets replaced every 5 days, and you can imagine why. There's a lot of stuff that goes through there. It's not like a snake skin, though, where a snake sheds the whole skin. It gets repaired here and there, but overall, every 5 days you have a new intestinal lining. Livers take about 3 to 5 years. Pancreas is 3 to 5 years. The lungs, 4 to 5 years. A heart is entirely new in 15 to 20 years. So the one thing that we found over time is that as a person's growing and once they're born, they have a consistent release of stem cells until about age 21, that's when that release peaks. And then it starts declining around age 27. And then the list down below shows that when a person's 35 years old, or maybe 40, they notice some things that don't work like they did when they were 20. And it's because there's been a decline in the release of adult stem cells from the bone marrow. When you hit 65 years old, some people have a 90% decline in stem cells being released. So, you notice that things just don't work really hardly at all sometimes when you're that old. And there's other things that contribute to that decline of release too: stress and poor sleep, toxins, poor diet, too much or too little exercise sometimes, or even illnesses. Disease states are always there, even when you're young. What ends up happening, though, is that you have stem cell release that's holding down the fort. But like we noticed before, when that release starts to decline, then the disease that was there when you were young, there were no symptoms, starts to show symptoms. And we'll get into that in one of the before and after pictures here I can show you. We have a lot of things that are going against us today. We have a lot of toxins in our atmosphere, genetically modified foods, pesticides in our food supply, things like that. So there's a lot of challenges to our body. There's also injuries that happen. And if you're an athlete, professional, amateur, weekend warrior, my experience with that just this last summer was we went out to the farm to help my mom clean up a lot of the landscaping around the house. and I ran a chainsaw for about 5 hours that day. Sometimes I was, over my head, other times bending over, moving lots of brush. Well, I was smart enough. I took my stem cell nutrition product before I left, as soon as I got back, and when I went to bed. The next day I had no ill effects, where if I hadn't done that, I would probably not have been able to move the next day. So it makes a big difference. This is Christian Drapeau. He is the world-leading stem cell researcher. He was the one that originally discovered how and why the algae that is used in our products does what it does. The product is called Stem Enhance Ultra, and it is known to naturally increase the body's adult stem cell migration. And there's a lot of scientific evidence that backs this. If you're interested in that, fill in your information down at the bottom there and your email address. I'll be happy to send you more information so you don't have to go looking all over the web to find it. There's published papers and all kinds of things that I have. I've been in this for over 10 years, so I've accumulated lots of information and lots of knowledge about this, so feel free. This product is about 4 times stronger because of the way they've formulated it now than the original product was 10 years ago. And what they've been able to do now is the stem cell release is still within an hour, but it lasts for a much longer time period, and we get a bigger release. And then you look at that blue line there, those are called endothelial progenitor cells. Those are the cells that are required to build the blood vessels in the new tissue that the stem cells are starting to create and form. So it's just like when you build a house, you got to bring in the utilities. And as you're building the house, you got to move, the wiring has to go to all the different outlets and the plumbing has to go to the right places. Well, your body also needs the wiring and the plumbing so that the stem cells continue to repair and replace the damaged areas. So that's what this does. And how we first came across this, when this product is consumed, it helps to reduce inflammation. People have experienced it benefiting their immune system. You're going to see some examples of that. It is a potent antioxidant, which is a big buzzword today in nutrition. Concentrations are improved. Mood enhancement. You'll have to get one of the testimonies. I have a really funny one of one of my customers. I'd be happy to send it to you. Again, fill out the form with your email and all that stuff. I'll get it to you. Mental energy. It even helps people to sleep. But probably one of the biggest things that people are looking for is there's a huge market now for knee replacements and other joint replacements. And you'll see some examples of what the body can actually do if it's given the right materials to rebuild. These are a couple of examples. This one lady was diagnosed with macular degeneration, and she was aware of this Stem Enhance product, and you see the before and after pictures there. The after picture shows that there was no macular degeneration after about 4 months. And I went on Google and I looked it up to see if there's anything that will actually reverse macular degeneration, and all the articles I found were saying how to preserve what you have and how to take more nutrition and the right kind of nutrition to help maintain your eyesight, but nothing could actually restore it. No one could claim that. But here's just an example of somebody that experienced that kind of result. So the articles were saying here's some fertilizer, but good luck. On the right hand side there's a guy that's 81 years old, and you can see the before x-ray. It shows there's no cartilage. Now there are some products and programs that people say collagen and all that stuff is really necessary to build, but if you don't have anything to build on, it's the adult stem cells that go in and actually start to put the foundation down. Obviously the nutrition is very helpful, but in 7 months time they canceled his knee replacement surgery because he didn't need it anymore. The x-rays showed that the cartilage had grown back in his knees, and actually his bone density actually improved too. This is actually one of my customers. He was a person that has suffered blood sugar issues for over 40 years. He was in the twilight years of his life. He was at my sister-in-law's senior care home because of the private home. It wasn't an institution, mainly because they wanted to save money. Well, my sister-in-law knew what our product did, and she had me come over and give the wife the literature about this. And they were concerned because that skin opened up. It was bigger than a silver dollar for months, and nothing would help it heal. They were afraid they would have to do an amputation. So when I gave the wife the literature 3 months later, I stopped back and she hadn't even read it. I said, why don't you just buy a couple bottles and try it? To their amazement, within 2 weeks, that thing that was bigger than a silver dollar scabbed over to the size of a pencil eraser. And my sister-in-law, because she does a lot of the monitoring, she takes blood sugar samples to see what the levels are. It used to have to milk the guy's finger just to get a sample and get a drop of blood out of it. 3 days later, prick the finger, boom, blood would come out. So that's a real practical example of what additional stem cell release can do in the body. As far as infections go, this man knew about this product 9 years ago, avoided it. Then he comes down with this shingles infection. And none of his natural Chinese medicine or anything like that would work. And finally he decided, okay, I'll try this. And 14 days later, you can see the smile on his face. He still had some healing to go there because there were some craters left from the infection, but I'm sure that things have grown back. He was totally positive about this. So there's a tendency now too, it's becoming more and more popular, especially in knee situations where there's advertising for stem cell injections. And the way that works, it's about an $8,000 project. You go in, they give you a drug, it releases stem cells from your bone marrow, they spin them down, they draw your blood, they spin them down, and they inject them. That works. Unfortunately, it's a one-shot deal because people I've talked with say that they actually offer you a discount for a second injection so you can come back in. It's a huge moneymaker for the clinic. And if you compare that with, taking a simple nutrition product that works on all of your body, because let's say it fixes your knee, but maybe you got a problem with your pancreas or with your heart or with your brain, who knows? That injection in the knee is not going to do anything. But, for the amount of money that you've spent, it's like amazing. If you do go to India, I had one customer that decided to go get an injection for his pancreas. It was like $25,000 in the United States, but he was going to go to India to get it done for $5,000. Again, we told him the same thing. If you're going to do it, that's great. It'll work. But, you have a lot of other organs that have been holding up your system until you started to see the symptoms of blood sugar. So that injection will work, but it's not going to address the actual issue in the body. Anyway, if you like what you saw and you want to get some product, just click on the button below. If you want more questions answered, give me a phone call. Be happy to answer them for you. Been doing this for over 10 years. Fantastic product. You can't go wrong.